Imagine, you're out with your group of friends grabbing lunch. You're chatting and catching up when you notice one of your friends starts shifting in their seat and fidgeting with their napkin. They clear their throat and say, "I have to admit something." Everyone at your table then obviously just goes quiet. Your friend takes a deep breath and nervously shares, "I have been going to the gym." One of your friends asks, "What's going on? Are you struggling with your physical health? We're here for you." Another person at the table says, "I used to go to the gym too when I was struggling with my physical health. I don't need to anymore since I'm better now. I'm sure going will help you too." In this hypothetical world, people only go to the gym, the yoga studio, the run club, or do any form of exercise only when they're struggling with their physical health. But once they were doing better, continuing was seen as optional, almost like an emergency escape hatch, only used when the building's on fire. It's hard to picture a world like this, right? So why is it that we treat our mental health this way? Why do we wait until things become overwhelming before we address it? Yes, the stigma around mental health has drastically decreased over the past decade or two. But to put it bluntly, mental health is still not as attractive as physical health yet. And with the current mental health crisis, it's about time we become more preventative and begin treating our mental health more proactively. Physical health has its own proactive term we use that's called physical fitness. Mental health also has its own proactive term too: mental fitness. It was introduced in 1964, over 60 years ago, but it's still not mainstream. And this simple word change from health to fitness literally makes all the difference. Mental health is a state of being. We all have a mental health. I want to clarify that it's not the same as mental illness. We could think of it like a scale. We can either be high on the scale or low on the scale. But regardless, this scale exists within all of us. Now, mental fitness, on the other hand, is the process of us working on our mental health. Whether we're feeling at the top or at the bottom of the scale, we're actively working to go up or maintain where we currently are. That's what mental fitness is. And I've seen mental fitness impact me at some of my lowest moments. Periods where I dropped out of most of my classes because I didn't think I was capable of graduating anymore. Periods in time where I was still struggling to accept some childhood experiences that were affecting the lens of how I saw the world. And even a period where Taylor Swift and Drake songs weren't helping my broken heart. I've also seen mental fitness impact me at some of my highest points. But best of all, I've gotten a chance to see mental fitness impact millions of people's lives through a YouTube channel I worked for. This is why I'm so excited to have a conversation about mental fitness. There are 4 key pillars that the physical fitness industry, that makes it so attractive, that do not yet exist in the world of mental fitness. Today, we're going to explore how we can adapt these pillars to help make mental fitness as common as physical fitness. The first pillar is when. When I was in university, I got a chance to see just how important the when is through a professor. I was at a low point, and it felt like I was struggling with every aspect of my life. Whenever I went on Instagram, it only made things worse. I'd watch people from my high school thriving with perfect vacations, fitness wins, career milestones, and the list would go on and on and on. And yet, here I was, barely having the energy to eat or shower. But one day, I was sitting in a psychology class, and our professor was explaining that if any human being were to just dig deep down, they'd uncover one core belief that sums up how they feel about themselves. And as soon as she said that, I knew what mine was. I am behind. At this point, I was so tired of feeling this way. And luckily, she didn't leave us hanging. She suggested getting a journal and writing 3 things that we accomplish every day. big or small. It could be landing a job, or even as simple as opening the door for the person behind us. The key was just consistency. 3 things every day for a year. I was desperate for a change, so I gave this a shot. And I ended up writing in that journal for over 700 days. And it transformed how I saw myself. This simple habit trained my mind to celebrate progress, especially when I felt behind. And all it took was just 5 minutes a day. What makes physical fitness so approachable is the simplicity of its advice. We often hear things like, just move for at least 30 minutes a day. That makes it feel easy and actionable. But when it comes to our minds, the advice we get is often along the lines of, just be confident, or just stop overthinking. And I don't know about you, I've never met anyone in my entire life that just stopped overthinking just because they were told not to. Real change doesn't come from quick fixes. It takes long-term consistency built through short, regular effort, the same way that we build muscle. The second pillar is the how. Now, if I were to ask for 2 volunteers to come to the stage, and I were to ask the first person to list out as many options they can think of to exercise, and then I were to ask the other person to list out as many options they can think of to work on their mental health, the difference in these 2 list sizes would be huge. For physical fitness, we'd hear options like weightlifting, running, yoga, dancing, or any of the hundreds of sports that exist. But when it comes to our mental fitness, the options we might hear is meditating, journaling, art, therapy, and a few others if we're lucky. And while practices like meditation are great and has impacted me positively in so many different ways, it's not appealing for everyone. And it's far from being the only way to work on our mental health. So what if we began recognizing any of the countless skills that we can develop as mental workouts? This could include gratitude, focus, resilience, self-awareness, or any of the thousands of skills that exist. Visualizing for positive outcomes could be a belief workout. The entries in my journal that were teaching me to feel more proud, a proud workout. Practicing gratitude, a gratitude workout. Thinking of all these skills as mental workouts makes mental fitness easier to understand, try, and gives us confidence that progress is around the corner if we stick with it. It gives us options. People can pick from a variety of different workouts rather than only relying on a few. The third pillar is who. Now, for many, working on their mental health can feel like a solo journey. It's often something we do in private, and that can feel lonely. But one of the most powerful aspects of physical fitness culture is its sense of community. Just think about group fitness classes, team sports, or even having a gym buddy. These connections make the journey feel more enjoyable, they create accountability, and often give us a boost in motivation to show up, even when we don't feel like it. When I worked at the YouTube channel Yes Theory, I got a chance to see just how important community is. One of Yes Theory's main messages is that life's greatest moments and deepest connections exist outside of our comfort zone. But what made it really special is that there was meetups happening in literally over 100 countries. And one common theme we always heard was just how much easier it became for people to just push themselves outside of their comfort zone in a group setting. What felt impossible at first became possible just because they saw others around them doing it. We heard countless stories of people skydiving, deciding to go to therapy for the first time, doing their first ice bath, or performing a hidden talent, all from the power of community. In these meetups, if we're looking at things from the lens of mental fitness, these people were doing a discomfort workout. But what if we applied the same approach to all other mental fitness workouts? What if it became encouraged for friends to meet up to journal together, or do any other mental fitness workout as a group? Just like in physical fitness, we can use the same blueprint for our mental fitness. The fourth pillar is where. Now, I'd love to start with a quick poll here, and this is just for fun, no judgment at all. Raise your hand if you've eaten a bag of chips or candy in the first hour of your morning in the last month. Again, I've been there myself many, many times, no shame. Now, raise your hand if you've used your phone in the first hour of your morning in the last month. You see that difference? Chips and candy, although we still eat them, at least in society, there are clearer boundaries, and it's emphasized to limit them, especially in our mornings. But when it comes to what our mind consumes, these boundaries aren't as clear. Phones, which are commonly considered to be junk food for our brain, are still freely used at all hours, especially in our morning. Even if we're consistent with our mental fitness routine, it makes it so much harder to grow if we're constantly surrounded by stimulation and distractions. We explored 4 pillars that the world of mental fitness can learn from the physical fitness industry. When, who, how, and where. But to be honest with you, this list is oversimplified. My goal with this talk is just to get more people to talk about this. And I'm confident that the more discussions we can have on this topic, the more brain power we can have as a collective to come up with new ways to help make mental fitness seen as something just as attractive as physical fitness. And we've made so much progress the past decade or two on talking about our mental health in a reactive sense. This has helped myself and so many others around the world, especially as we're in the midst of a mental health crisis. But I believe it's time we take it a step further and begin also working on our mental health in a proactive sense. My hope is that one day, in all schools around the world, mental health classes are a core part of the curriculum, just as gym classes. My hope is that one day, when people are out on dates and ask the classic question we hear in movies, do you work out? It will be so common to consider mental fitness that the other person replies, do you mean my mind or my body? My hope is that when friends are out grabbing lunch and someone shares that they're working on their mental health or mental fitness, it's not assumed that they're struggling. Instead, just like physical fitness, it's assumed that they're being proactive. Let's make mental fitness as common as physical fitness. Thank you.